On August 20th, 1966, two missing Brazilian electronic technicians were found on a rugged hill under mysterious and ominous circumstances. The find set off a chain of events in what would come to be known as the lead masks case. Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana were both found wearing unusual masks made of lead, and both had been involved in a UFO sighting and were believed to have been in a spiritualist cult. On their person were cryptic messages, thought by some to be signaling some sort of communication or partnership with extraterrestrials. The local media covered the case as the Caso das Mascaras de Chumbo, until suddenly and inexplicably, all reporting stopped. The mysterious discovery. History is chock full of mysteries that baffle authorities when they happen and continue to captivate interest for the strange circumstances recorded. With progress in forensic science, past crimes are being revisited and solved, or recognized that they could have been solved if modern technologies were available back then. The most fascinating mysteries are those with strange and inexplicable circumstances that not even modern science can adequately address. The lead masks case presents such a situation. After receiving the initial tip, the Brazilian police located two males lying on a mountainous hill called Morro do Vintém in southeastern Brazil. Grass grew around them, and they were oddly dressed in formal clothes with waterproof coats. Each wore an eye mask made from lead. There were no signs of trauma or struggle. Allegedly, they were found earlier that day when a young boy was flying his kite on the hill. When police arrived, they identified the two men as electronics repairmen from Campos dos Goitacazes. Manuel Pereira da Cruz, age 32, and Miguel José Viana, age 34, lived far away from the hill, 200 kilometers northeast. This puzzled the investigators. At the time they were found, they wore business suits and were carrying two hand towels and an empty water bottle. The strangest of the items, though, were two lead masks, which had no branding or identification. On the day they had disappeared, the police understood they were traveling with a considerable amount of cash, 30 million cruzeiros, enough for a discount car. Due to the unstable markets of 1966, the equivalent of that money in today's terms is not easily stated. They discovered the men had taken a bus to Rio de Janeiro. They carried the receipt in their raincoats. One had a receipt for a water bottle, which specified they had to return it to recover the deposit charged for the container. Only a small portion of the money they supposedly carried was on them, yet there were no signs they were robbed. They also brought a small notebook, but whose contents remained cryptic to investigators. One page listed numbers for electrical parts, another, unidentifiable notes among oddly placed electronic formulas. One page, nevertheless, had two notes that jumped out to investigators. The first note stated, quote, Sunday, 1 capsule after lunch. Wednesday, 1 capsule at bedtime. The second note stated, quote, Be at the place arranged at 16:30. Take capsules at 18:30. After feeling effects, protect half the face with lead masks. Await the agreed signal. The Electricians. Both electricians were well known throughout their community as respectable citizens. They both had families, both were hardworking. Upon investigation, the police deduced that they had left their town of Campos dos Goitacazes on August 17, 1966. They went to Rio de Janeiro ostensibly to purchase electric supplies for their job. That afternoon, they took a bus to Niterói, near the hill where they were found, buying both the water and raincoats from a little shop in town. Witnesses reported that Miguel José Viana looked extremely nervous, continually checking his watch. The two set off towards the Morro de Vintém at around 3:15 p.m. Some said they caught a ride on a jeep heading that direction. They were seen talking on the hill at about 5 p.m. by a local child, Jorge de Costa Alves, the same boy who would eventually find them 2 days later. Upon arriving at the scene, police could only locate 161,000 of the 30 million cruzeiros they originally had with them. Some speculate that the numbers found in their notes may have been secret codes of some military or spacecraft nature. Police dismissed these ideas. Others thought they could be some sort of communication code used to talk to secret agents from another nation or even extraterrestrials. A note about the capsules they were to ingest proved a red herring. No pill was ever found. While no toxicology tests were conducted, still no signs pointed to the ingestion of strange substances. Their friend and coworker, Elcio Gomez, reached out to the police during the investigation. Gomez shared his and the deceased's involvement in a group of self-identified scientific spiritualists. This group, which boasted most electronic specialists in their area as members, reportedly chased controversial pseudo-scientific matters in search of a greater truth about the universe. bizarre experiments. As the police interrogated Elcio Gomez, more and more strange details surfaced. Scientific spiritualists conducted bizarre experiments relating to the idea of space exploration and alien life. In particular, Gomez recalled participating in research with Manoel and Miguel a mere 2 months before their disappearance. They built a device in Manuel's backyard that would potentially establish contact with Mars. Unfortunately, this trial phase ended after the device subsequently exploded. Manuel's father and other locals corroborated the existence of the experiment and heard or witnessed the explosion. They learned about a UFO incident involving the two men and Gomez. When police searched Manoel and Miguel's properties, they found some alarming, moreover confusing items in Miguel's workshop. Tools and scraps from the face masks, apparently self-made. Then investigators located a book with highlighted passages discussing intense luminosity. Furthermore, more of the men's writing materials had cryptic messages, including specific instructions for consuming the capsules. These notes were not written by either of the two men, nor did the handwriting match Gomez's. Still, the police refused to consider supernatural theories put forth by Gomez, the parents of the men, or any other locals. Instead, their report suggested Miguel and Manuel were involved in an electronic smuggling ring. No evidence supported such a claim. The Atafona Beach UFO. At the invitation of Manuel and Miguel, Elcio Gomez went to Atafona Beach on June 13, 1966. Soon after arriving, a luminous object flew over the water. Reportedly, it approached those on shore. According to Gomez, the flying saucer hovered there for about 5 minutes. After such time, it began to rise. It sent out a blinding white light and an exploding sound. When things were visible again, the UFO was gone. When local fishermen were asked what they'd seen, they reported a flying saucer plunging into the water. Some said they heard the explosion that, quote, rocked buildings as far as 15 kilometers away. Gomez reported the occurrence during the investigation. It is not known if the Brazilian Naval and Air Force intelligence services investigated the incident. It's likewise unknown to what extent and how much information their investigation yielded. Either way, the mere fact his claim was being investigated supported Gomez's account. Miguel's sister recalled another detail, which further puzzled investigators. A couple of days before the UFO incident, Gomez told her he was going to carry out a top-secret, high-priority mission in the coming days. He couldn't disclose what it was or who he was working for. Hermes. Adding another layer of mystery onto the two electricians' strange fate is the fact that they weren't the only people to disappear and reappear with lead face masks in Brazil. In 1962, a man in Sao Paulo was found on the mountain Morro de Cruzeiro wearing a lead mask. Later identified by the name Hermes, he turned out to be a television technician. How or why Hermes turned up on the mountain is still unclear. With no leads, the case simply went cold. Theories. Multiple theories developed as to what had happened with both lead masks cases in the region. All over Brazil, the media spread the story like wildfire. Yet no one really knows what exactly happened on that hill. Since the men were believed to have been exposed to radiation previously, some theories claim that they were selling illegal radioactive materials to Brazil's criminal organizations. According to this theory, a deal went sour. This theory doesn't explain the capsules, nor does it address why they were found with no signs of injury. An alternative conspiracy theory links their behavior with discovering alien life. UFO enthusiasts roundly support this theory based on the nature of their work as scientific spiritualists and the Atafona Beach incident. In fact, Gomez himself seemed to favor a similar theory. Some believe aliens contacted them with precise instructions, telling them to consume a capsule to protect them from radiation. Additionally, the alleged instruction given suggested wearing lead masks to protect from the blinding lights of a UFO landing on Earth at Morro de Vintem. This theory speculates that something must have gone wrong. Otherwise, the real Manoel and Miguel escaped on a spacecraft, while decoys were left behind. Others believe that their link to the pseudo-scientific community led them to consume mind-altering substances. This theory holds that the capsules were charged with potent hallucinogenic substances, which they believed would allow them to contact spirits or beings from other worlds. Instead, the contents may have caused internal injury. Some reports favor this theory, alleging that the two men could have been conducting a telepathic experiment using drugs. LSD, reporters claim, was the likely culprit. However, further research and understanding about LSD revealed that it's rarely, if ever, caused irreparable harm to the consumer. This would be the case, especially if the substance was ingested with no other mind or body-altering substances interfering with its use. The only thing they carried was water, which would not have caused such a result. Still, the UFO-related theories have gained traction in recent years. Many have linked their story to subsequent reports of UFOs in the same area. In August of 1966, Senora Gracinda Barbosa Coutinho de Souza, a local woman, reportedly saw what she described as a, quote, oval-shaped object of an orangey color with a band of fire around its edges, sending out rays in all directions. She and her children witnessed this on the same hill. Furthermore, they reported that it flew around for about 4 minutes before taking off.